Why have some areas of Northern Cyprus increased in price by 100 to 300% over the past years, while others have barely moved at all? Why do investors in one complex make tens of thousands of euros reselling real estate, while in another they can't sell their apartment for any price, even after years? I will tell you about the appeal of the regions of Northern Cyprus, without the fairy tales you might hear from realtors, and without the gloss you might see in brochures at real estate exhibitions. And most importantly, in this video I will tell you how professional investors choose areas for buying real estate so that it truly becomes a high-yield investment, and not just a beautiful apartment by the sea in Cyprus. Watch this video until the end. At the end, I will share which area of Northern Cyprus, in my personal opinion, is the most undervalued and promising from an investment perspective. And by the way, that's exactly where we ourselves invest all our spare money. Let's focus on the following criteria. We'll talk about where there is potential for price growth, which areas are already overheated, which ones are likely to become overheated soon, where it's comfortable to live, where it's nice to vacation, where it's good for renting out property, and where you should invest with great caution. My friends, at the top of my ranking are the Khaledic and Bell districts. These two districts share first place. I'll tell you both the pros and cons now. Why Khaledic? Because this district has limited space and a limited number of real estate properties. On one hand, when something is limited, that's a good thing, because if there's high demand but not many properties, there's always potential for growth, and it's always possible to sell or rent it out quickly. Second, the area already has well-developed infrastructure for leisure. There's already a yacht marina there, plenty of different restaurants and cafes, good quality beaches, and even a water park already in place. A 5-star hotel is already under construction there, with what its owners claim will be the largest casino in Northern Cyprus. There's also a project for another 5-star hotel with a casino by the sea. A theme park has already been announced there, covering 90,000 square meters, the largest on all of Cyprus. And by the sea, there's also a plan for a small yacht marina and another water amusement park. And all of this is located in a relatively small, somewhat closed-off area with a limited number of real estate properties. That's why we invest all the money we have only in this area. At the moment, there is good, steady growth there. There was significant growth after 2022. Now the growth is simply good and stable. A large number of real estate properties are being built and sold there. These projects are supposed to be completed, I think, as early as next year. Somewhere around 2027, these projects will be finished, and as a result, the infrastructure will appear. There will be even more small restaurants, because each project includes its own commercial real estate. That is, there will be more cafes, bakeries, beauty salons, new gyms will appear, new spas, karaoke bars and restaurants will open. In short, all the places where people are used to relaxing well and in quality during their vacations. This will already happen next year. Plus, the developer is building villas in this area for 2 million British pounds sterling each. Accordingly, if you manage to buy a villa, for example, for 300, 350 or 400,000 pounds in these projects, its price is guaranteed to increase by at least several £100,000, because two properties located on the same street and having the same area, even if the design is different, but the area is the same, the level of specification is the same, and the size of the land plot is the same, cannot cost 2, 3 or 4 times more than each other. That is, this property is guaranteed to increase in value. When the 5-star hotel is completed and when the amusement park is finished, there will be another stage of price growth. I believe that this is the best investment area in Northern Cyprus. And that street, the one that leads directly to the beach from the main road, from the roundabout, from Paris Cafe, from Dazzle restaurant, I actually think it will be the best, the most luxurious street in the end in the entire country. That's right. And by the way, in that same area, the most luxurious project in Northern Cyprus is being built. It's called Cyprus Palma Jumeirah. Recently, in one of our video reviews, we told you about it in detail. This is a description, an explanation of why I consider it the top and the best for investment. Moving on. The other side of this area, is it suitable for living? Those who live there say yes, it is suitable for living. In this area, well, not in this one, but in the neighboring area, Yeni Bogazici, there is a private school, a good private school, and a shuttle bus picks up children from all along the coast and takes them to this school. So even if you move there to live and work, you can also open a business there. There are plenty of places there where you can apply yourself and find a job, because all sorts of new establishments are constantly opening up where you can get employed and your children can study either in a public or a private school. Nevertheless, Some of the people who live there would actually prefer not to live in a resort area, but rather in a residential area, which we will also discuss later. The second place is Belapai. There too, the real estate is highly liquid, but it's of a completely different level. It's a foothill area, home to the Belapai Abbey in the Kyrenia region. Property there is always in demand. Local residents, wealthy people, Britons, Europeans, Turks, they all dream of having a house in Belapai. If a house goes up for sale, it sells very quickly. In fact, the average price of houses there is probably around 1 million British pounds sterling. This is not considered expensive. In the Belapais area, it's actually considered cheap. But again, there is another side to this issue. If you want resort-style housing, Belapais is not for you. It's not a resort, it's a foothill area. Even if you just move in, for example, there are sometimes very expensive apartments there, but they are still apartments. For example, you move into an apartment there at the price of a villa in another area, and you want your child to go out and play on a playground, but there are no playgrounds there. You want to walk to a little shop, but there are no shops there. And some of our buyers are puzzled by this. They don't understand what makes this area luxurious and prestigious. They say, well, there isn't that much infrastructure here. This doesn't really suit us. Let's still choose Alsancak or Lapta, where all the infrastructure is within walking distance. And there's one more nuance. Don't forget that even if a property is very liquid and expensive, we can often make more profit from less expensive properties than from the expensive and luxurious ones. So when you invest, you need to look at the whole picture. Yes, a property can be in very high demand, like a villa or an apartment in Belapais, but at the same time, it might take longer to sell, and the profit from it could be lower. Let's move on to the second place in our ranking. Second place goes to Iskele, specifically the Long Beach area. People call this coastline the Golden Mile, a gold mine, a super investment. Forbes magazine even called it the best place in the world among resort destinations for investment. The best place in the world. Just think about that. And indeed, there are wonderful resort complexes there, each better than the last. However, since construction is constantly ongoing, the infrastructure, roads, sidewalks, they're still damaged by the cars and construction equipment that drive on them. In this regard, things aren't very good there yet. We need to wait until construction is finished and completely replace all the road and sidewalk surfaces and plant greenery there. There's this nuance to consider, but here's what I want to say. Indeed, as of today, most of our investors are already making money right now, specifically in this area in Long Beach, in Iskele, because it is the most in-demand location in the country. But if we take a moment to gaze slightly further into the upcoming future, we will clearly see that today it looks remarkably like the city of Dubai back during the early years of the 2000s. Yes, it really does look very similar indeed. And it truly possesses that same extraordinary potential for substantial growth and long-term earnings. However, we must remember that Long Beach has a much more limited physical size. And imagine when all the residents of this area move into these tens of thousands of properties, there simply won't be enough space on the beach. And when tens of thousands of properties are built, mostly purchased by investors, and all of them come onto the market at the same time, the competition will be very high. Today, it's a good market to make money right now. How it will perform in 3 to 5 years, we don't know. But there is a suspicion that such high competition will significantly reduce both the rental potential and the potential for profit from resale. Next is region number 3 in our ranking. I don't quite agree with this, but my colleagues say that number 3 is Esentepe. the most popular area among European buyers, buyers from Scandinavian countries and buyers from the United Kingdom. It's almost a nature reserve. Actually, it is a reserve, but in some places hunting is allowed. That's the kind of reserve it is. Local residents have never settled there. There are no old buildings, only beautiful, expensive apartments and villas and brand new, excellent infrastructure. But the current state of the infrastructure is a downside of this area. The housing stock is developing much faster than the infrastructure, so the area is growing in leaps and bounds like this. There was a major surge in development. The infrastructure wasn't built and prices even dropped a little. Then there was another surge in development, which we're witnessing now, and we're expecting the infrastructure to be built. At the moment, prices are at a plateau, and sometimes there are properties we can buy from investors who invested in 2021 to 2022 at very decent prices. If you want to make money on this, contact us. For example, the developer is currently selling this property for 179,000 British pounds. We have exactly the same property for sale for 130,000 pounds. The difference is 49,000 British pounds right now on a single apartment. And the complex is really good and truly in high demand. The complex is upscale and is in the final stage of construction. If you want to invest in Esentepe, we will find such properties for you. But in my personal opinion, until infrastructure appears there, there will not be any new growth. And the infrastructure, I think, will be fully in place around the end of 2027, and then there will be another major growth in this region. And by 2027, we simply won't recognize it. So by the end of 2027, if you go there today and record a video of the region on your camera or phone and then come back in a year and a half, you'll watch the video and see what it looks like then, and you'll say, no, I've never been to this place. This is a completely different place. Therefore, if you invest today for the next few years, the Esentepe area is a very good and reliable option to make a profit. If you want to earn money faster, the previous item on our list, Iskele, is a more justified and balanced choice. Fourth place goes to the Kyrenia region, or more precisely from the center of Kyrenia, which isn't very interesting for foreigners, westward, approximately up to Karşıyaka. Here you have Kyrenia, Ercan, Karaloğlu, Karmi, Alsancak, Lapta, Karşıyaka, Yeşiltepe. These are the settlements, the western part of Kyrenia. This isn't about hype, it's about quality of life. If you want to live comfortably in Northern Cyprus, you will come here and most likely you will choose the western part of Kyrenia. The center of Kyrenia isn't very interesting because it's not Paris, Florence, or Rome. There isn't that kind of beauty here, that kind of infrastructure, or all those touches that give a place charm or a sense of deep history. But the suburbs are very green, with excellent infrastructure and wonderful real estate options that are significantly cheaper than in the city center. It's a much more reasonable choice. So, on the one hand, you're surrounded by nature, beauty, and greenery, with views of the sea and mountains almost everywhere. You have wonderful beaches, spas, banks, shops, supermarkets, butcher shops, and grocery stores. You have a bakery, you have everything, the entire infrastructure is right here. You have a private British school, and you have universities close by. So it's comfortable for you to live here, to work, to retire, and for your children and grandchildren of all ages. And real estate is always in demand. When it comes to real estate, I can tell you that we sell an apartment almost every day in this very region. Villas are bought less frequently, but apartments are purchased from us almost every day, and almost all buyers are acquiring them for permanent residence, either for themselves or, for example, someone is buying for their parents, not as an investment. There is growth, but it's not explosive. It's not like what happened in Esentepe or what is happening now, for example, in Iskele or what we expect in Khaledic. But the growth is very, very, very stable. For example, there was an apartment for £65,000. The owner raised the price. Now we are selling it for £77,000. It's the exact same apartment. If we don't sell it, there will be another price increase. For example, someone was selling an apartment, a 2-bedroom penthouse, for £85,000 fully furnished with a rooftop terrace. A few months passed. He says, now I want 100. We found a buyer to show the apartment to. We hadn't promised anything yet, hadn't even managed to show it. He clarified, has anything changed for you? The owner says, now I want 115. Okay, little by little, little by little. Prices go up every year. Life is very comfortable, the climate is very pleasant, and all the infrastructure you need for living is here. It's a wonderful, beautiful neighborhood. My friends, number 5 in our ranking. If I were choosing a region to invest in for the purpose of earning income from long-term rentals, I would definitely choose Famagusta. Who rents from us? Students and expats rent long-term. Those who have come to live in Northern Cyprus but don't have their own housing. The largest university in Northern Cyprus is located in Famagusta. There are more students there than anywhere else. The whole city of Famagusta gives the impression that it was made for students. All the cafeterias, all the electronics shops, clothing stores. It's clear that all of this isn't for the locals or for older people. You can tell it's all for young people. I remember once I needed something from a well-known store. We had this store, it was 2 stories tall. In the capital, in Nicosia, I couldn't find the clothing item I needed. We went to the capital, and there too we couldn't find a 2-story store. In Famagusta, the same brand had a 5 or 6-story store, and we found everything there. That was 15 years ago. I still wear those things in the summer. I've never seen them anywhere else. And if in Kyrenia here, after all, for us, the cafeterias and restaurants for people who live here permanently, they're busy all year round. Here, the quality is always stable and good, and the prices are higher than in Famagusta because here it's for people who work. For example, if I want to go out with my family to a cafeteria or a small restaurant, I'll go and pay a pretty decent average bill. If we go to Famagusta, everything there is designed for students. I don't know about the quality of the food there. I haven't tried it. I've also found more expensive places there. But judging by their price lists, their prices are almost half as much as here for a similar dish in the Kyrenia area. So it's a student city, and naturally, students need somewhere to live. There aren't enough dormitories for everyone. So for long-term rentals, Famagusta is perfectly suitable. There's another nuance that I've never heard anyone mention. Famagusta has a huge port, the largest port in Northern Cyprus. And by the way, maybe even in the south as well. I don't know that for sure. So this port today operates very little because it is under sanctions. It does operate, but mainly it serves only the Northern Cyprus market, businesses and, well, just private individuals in Northern Cyprus. As soon as the sanctions are lifted from this port, and I'm sure they will be, that Turkey will find a way to negotiate. For example, it could exchange the lifting of sanctions from this port for permission for Southern Cyprus planes to fly over Turkish territory. As of today, they are prohibited from doing this, and as a result, they lose a lot of fuel. Their tickets, airline tickets, are very expensive. That's it. Or they might propose some other kind of deal and come to an agreement about it. As soon as the sanctions are lifted from the port, it will simply become a center of business and trade in the Mediterranean, or one of the largest centers, one of the largest ports. And a port is not just a port, not just about trade turnover. A port is also customs, logistics, accounting, warehouses, and many other things that will give an additional, enormous, truly fantastic boost to the development of this city. That's why I believe that Famagusta has great potential and is very interesting. And if people want to rent out real estate, they often see with their own eyes the beautiful resort complexes on Long Beach and buy property there. But what they don't see with their own eyes is how many other people, just like them, want to make money from renting out property there on Long Beach. And they don't see with their own eyes that there are no schools, universities, or fully developed cities around, only resort housing. If I were to buy property in that region for rental purposes, I wouldn't choose Iskele, I would choose Famagusta specifically. There, the rental market is in perfect order. There is always demand and properties are always rented out very well. But if we want to make money on resale, Famagusta is still not the place where apartments sell like hotcakes like they do here in Kyrenia or on Long Beach, in those famous and beautiful resort complexes. The last point in our ranking, where I personally definitely would not buy property, is the Guzelyurt and Lefka region, for two simple reasons. First of all, it's geographically far from Kyrenia, Nicosia, or even Famagusta, and people still want to live closer to civilization, or even if they're just vacationing, they often prefer to be closer to civilization as well, so that, for example, they can spend time at Long Beach, in a casino, a spa, a bar on the beach, or by the pool. Then, when you want a change of scenery, when you feel like being among crowds of people for a bit, you can drive just 10 minutes from the city of Famagusta, go to the old town, wander through those streets, enjoy the sights without the summer heat on the beach, in the shade, in the shady streets, look at the old buildings, visit a museum, or go into a mosque or into a church. There are the relics of the Apostle Barnabas there. You can visit the Icon Museum, visit the monastery of the Apostle Barnabas. In general, just change the atmosphere a bit and get the impressions you need from it. The next day you can return to the beach at Long Beach, because it's only a 10-minute drive from Long Beach to Famagusta. If you are staying in Guzelyurt or Lefka, you will need an hour or two to change the scenery. Basically, it's quite far away. And secondly, there's the infrastructure. The infrastructure there hasn't been built, and it's unlikely that it ever will be. I believe that investors vote with their money. If they wanted to invest in the infrastructure of Guzelyurt and Lefka, they would have done it a long time ago. Am I telling you that you shouldn't invest there at all or buy property there? I would put it this way. I don't see any investment interest there. But if you like the region itself, and it is very interesting, it's an agricultural area with citrus groves stretching as far as the eye can see. There are almond orchards and there are strawberry fields. Overall, it's a very interesting, very green region. In Lefka, there are old copper mines. It's a mesmerizing sight. There are palm groves, eucalyptus groves, an abandoned British railway, and wonderful seafood restaurants. Overall, the landscape there is very interesting. If you like that place, for example, for a vacation, by all means, buy an apartment in one of the resort complexes there. You'll save money, you'll buy it cheaper than in other resort locations, but at the same time, it will simply be your summer house, just your vacation apartment where you can come and relax. And if you objectively don't have enough funds to buy a summer house in Khaledic or on Long Beach, then please, Guzelyurt or Lefka can be a great alternative. My friends, the conclusion from this video is very simple. If you want to buy real estate in Northern Cyprus, whether for vacation, permanent residence, retirement, or as an investment, you need to think about which area to buy in. Because as you can see, each area has its own nuances, its own features, its own pros and cons, which I have openly told you about. Think through your investment strategy, consider which developer you will buy from or whether you will purchase on the secondary market. Decide whether you want to rent it out, resell it, use it yourself, or do both. And only in this way, by thinking things through and building the right strategy, will you truly make a very successful purchase or a very successful investment. And we will be happy to help you with this. My friends, as you can see, I can't say that there are good and bad areas in Northern Cyprus. In my opinion, all of Northern Cyprus is good. I really love it. But each area has its own characteristics. And in one of my previous videos, by the way, I told you about the red flags you absolutely need to pay attention to in order to avoid problems and to make sure your purchase is guaranteed to be reliable, pleasant, and safe. The link to that video is in the description in the pinned comment. Be sure to watch it.